Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS guide to Abyssal Commander Sivara on Mythic.
Now, although this fight is the first boss and has only received one major change, it still can wipe you pretty easily if you go in unprepared, as the mechanics that were present on Heroic and Normal are just far more punishing now. But with that in mind, let's jump straight into it.
So the major mythic change is that the boss will give the entire raid an additional stack of your frost or poison marks every 25 seconds or so. This eventually leads to the entire raid taking a shit ton of damage from these dots, and it will wipe you if you aren't clearing your stacks often enough. We set up a simple rule of if you have more than 4 stacks, look to reset as soon as you can. You just need to be very aware of the raid's health as you reset, as you don't want to kill players off, which is difficult to do because no matter how well you play it or how lucky you are not to be targeted with either the javelin or the overflow, you are still going to get stacks and you are going to need to reset at some point. So the vast majority of your raid is going to be resetting very frequently. Having a single person to call out who to reset and when is a really good idea, as this will stop the majority of people all just resetting at the same time. You'll want to use the patches throughout the fight to reset rather than using mechanics or other players, as this is usually the safest option. And really, if you had a good understanding of this boss on Heroic, that's really all you need to know for the Mythic version of this fight, as everything else remains exactly the same. The only additional thing really that you need to keep in mind is that the boss does have a 6-minute enrage timer, and because the damage is so insane, you're pretty much forced to 5 or even 6 heal this fight in these early weeks, and this as a result does make the timer pretty tight. However, if you do manage to keep everyone alive throughout the fight, you should be able to beat the timer quite easily if you did manage to pick up a few items in Heroic here and there. But to end the guide, here's some quick tips that should help you if you're really struggling with incoming damage.
So players with overflow should have at least 2 or 3 other people with them when they expire, just to make sure you keep that damage survivable. Any more than that isn't particularly needed, as it will just give higher raid stacks. If you can solo your overflow, then you definitely should. Just be ready to reset the crazy amount of stacks that you can sometimes gain by taking that debuff alone. But aside from that, overflows, just keep banging them towards the edges to keep the room clean and you should be good. Now with the reverberating slam, if the tanks can solo this safely every single time, then they definitely should, as it does reduce the amount of damage the raid will take. However, if they can't, the majority of people with matching marks should try and be stacked in melee just to help split that damage, which would otherwise probably just one-shot one of your poor melee DPS. It's also not a bad idea to generally have the raid close to the boss as much as you possibly can so that healers can cover players from all sides, and AoE heals will be more effective. Now talk about the overwhelming barrage bolts for a second. Like on Heroic you could kind of ignore these, on Mythic you really should actively look to dodge these because it's just extra stacks your healers don't want to deal with. This is most easily done just by moving away from the boss, as you'll just have more time to react to the bolts as they fly out. Now ideally you would actually want to avoid deliberately resetting your stacks during a barrage as well, because there's definitely a couple of people that are going to mess up and reset by accident, and you don't want a ton of ticking damage on your raid all at once. Lastly to mention is the javelins. Just make sure they don't hit the tank, but otherwise you can pretty much ignore them. Just click the person out. It doesn't really matter that it hits the opposite damage type. In fact, you could probably just see it as an easy way of resetting stacks. But overall that is everything. Just keep your raid stacks low by resetting in a staggered way throughout the fight, keeping your stacks from going above 4, and the boss should fall over after a couple of pulls.
Thanks for watching guys. If you would like a refresher for this guide in a written format that you can quickly refer to during your raids, then go check out our guide over on Wowhead. A link for that you can find in the description, and we will see you all in the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.